Here we go then, another Friday, another ambulance video. So today we're looking at the seat box frame that I made that goes over the engine for the seats to sit on. So here we've got some Jaguar Sovereign electric seats, and I've connected them up to a bench power supply, which is actually a Hornby 00 transformer. And we're just adjusting them to get a comfortable seating position. With that done, it's time to try and get this massive electric comfortable luxury seat out of the ambulance. It weighs a small ton, if that's a thing, so that I can start working on the frame. So here's the framework I've put in so far. You can see that I've scalloped it there so the driver's legs miss it, and the idea is to make a lid that goes on top of this that hinges back, which will give access to the engine, change the oil, service it and what have you, and the seats will be mounted to this. So time to finish up welding some of the welds I couldn't get to because the seat was in before, and then time to start framing it out. So here we've got the Evolution chop saw. There's a link for a discount in my link tree for this. Brilliant machine. I wouldn't do without it. Equally, I wouldn't do without my Artec ProMig, which is what I'm using here. Lots of people ask what I use. That's one of the machines I use, and it's my favourite. So time to start welding in some of the framework. It's definitely measure, cut, and then clamp to the frame underneath so you can get everything parallel and square. And here's a bit of a time lapse of me cutting the pieces and tacking them in. So I'm tacking them together with the pieces clamped to the frame underneath, and then once I've done that I can take it out over to the bench and weld everything up fully. Now the frame isn't actually by design totally flat, it slopes forwards. So I did notch with the Evolution saw. You can notch the box all the way through, leaving one face still connected, and then bend the metal to close up the gap and weld it up, and therefore, give yourself an angled piece of metal if you like. So you can see that there, that the metal frame isn't sat totally flat on the bench, so it is angled. So that's a quick, cheap way of doing it. So here we are welding up the rest of the frame. So this is a speed frame made out of ERW box. Quite nice work, don't get so much black soot and build up and whatnot. And then the less fun bit, grinding all the welds back. And this is important because this frame needs to sit flush on top of the other frame, and we need to put a seal in between so that the engine bay and the cab are sealed. And the idea is this frame will hinge backwards with the seats on it, as I say, to act as a bonnet. So time to get it outside and trace around the frame onto a piece of steel. And here we have a new tool. This is a Makita metal shear, powered shear. Very impressed with it. It's a lot quicker and neater, and obviously no dust compared to using an abrasive wheel cutting disc on an angle grinder. Really impressed with this. My only mistake is I bought the 110 volt one by mistake. I was in a bit of a hurry, like you are, comparing the prices, and I saw that one was slightly cheaper, so I bought it, forgetting to check. Then time to drill out all the holes. So this is so I can spot weld the sheet to the frame. Again, if you just turn up the amps on the welder slightly, it gives you a nice hot weld, so it penetrates into the metal underneath without giving you too much of a build-up of wire, so you get a nice flush spot weld. So going around here, trying to work around a bit, not get too much heat into it, not too much warpage. And there we go, there's the finished for now lid in the van. So now it's time to go and get the humongously heavy Jaguar seat and put it in, have a bit more of a play. Now, the issue I ran into here, and some of this is sort of unavoidable, it's just part of the project, is the seating position is pretty high, which is fine. It's comfortable and it's fine with the steering wheel. The main issue is with the windscreen. Now, these vans are always designed, they always seem to have a bit of a low windscreen. But at present, you're sitting ever so high, and you can just see out the top of the windscreen, but you find that you're having to duck down a bit, which isn't ideal. So back over to the bench and using some jabbing some wires in some connectors to make the seat go down. This will all be wired in properly. But then I also went over to the original Morris van seats once I managed to get it off the seat base, to see if that made much of a difference. See if I could get a lower profile frame and a lower profile seat swab to just get that height down a bit, because I can't go any lower with the frame over the engine to get the height down. and the engine can't go any lower in the chassis because of the axle, and the windscreen can't go any bigger. So it's just about trying to find a happy balance. So here we go, cutting the original lid off that the original seat was mounted to, and the joy, the absolute sheer joy of discovering that there were some more screws fastened through the rail. This did take a moment for this information to sink in, but I did get there in the end, and then duly cut them out. So there's the original seats. Now, as you can see by comparison, massively smaller. But it is Friday, it's going to be out at 5, so I best get this out on the internet.